Hey, we're live.
God damn it, we
I'm
are.
I'm always surprised when it actually works.
Uh, I'm totally surprised when it works. And now we actually brought star power this time.
We've
We've
got the
had
star
Wald and
power.
McFarlane. We had that guy. I don't know who was the guy we had that was says dud. Oh yeah, that was a Kurt Gould dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No good.
No good. Wartime.
No. Go, Zach.
Don't say
Introduce
that.
our illustrious guest.
Our illustrious guest is Alan Hammack. Alan Hammack. He was the guy who wrote the very first module I bought. Is Ghost Tower Inverness, and I have a big fondness for it. I'm sure he's like can't remember what he wrote in there because I get that now. But I remember looking at that all the time and wondering who could come up with that. And then I met him, and boy, was I disappointed. No, no. I met Alan a few times. I met first Scare Con I went to. He was there, and he'd actually signed the module for me. But he's been to many of the cons I go to, and I have to admit, he's hardcore, man. And so we're happy to have him on our show because he makes us look good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate y'all having me on. Gosh darn it, Zach. So,
Oh boy.
Oh, how subtle.
Steve Getty will think you're the man now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That was a good way to get there.
uh,
I didn't name the show. Skeeter did.
well, that's okay. I mean, it was obviously a meme before I met you guys, but I think the second Texas Con that I came to, you had the shirts out. So
It was it was a series of messages between me and Zach. And
It literally was. He said that to me. I took a screenshot and said, "Save yourself the time next time. Just post a picture."
and then I made t-shirts.
I'm sorry I did that,
But
no.
enough about us. Let's
no,
talk about our
we're
guest, Alan
boring.
Hammack.
hey,
So
Hey. So,
The-
both of your devilettes are in the chat room right now.
that's right.
lovely. Hi ladies, hi ladies. My
Exactly.
favorite,
Hi, ladies.
my favorite gens. I have told the introduction story before, but at one of the Texas conventions, North Texas Con, I met them and they had pizza and basically offered food to a gamer. And I said, if you do that, you might as well adopt me because, if you give food to a gamer, they're just not going to go away. So
That
it's
is
been
true.
that way.
That
It's
is
been that
known.
way.
It is known, and it still happens to me. That's how I stay around because I get fed real well and treated real nice. It's like I don't deserve this. God damn it! No, no. So I'm glad they wowed you.
Both gens are wonderful, wonderful reasons for me to come to cons.
I'm glad you think so. That's awesome. Good for
That's
you, man.
that's great. So,
So, go ahead.
let's set this off. Alan, how did you get into gaming? Did you come from a wargaming background or were you a boards?
Um, well,
Or both?
gaming was wargaming in Avalon Hill days.
Boom.
Right. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Drop that hammer.
But yes, I played both the Avalon Hill games and miniatures, historical miniatures games as well.
What era? What era?
We're talking the 70s.
No, what era of historical miniatures?
Oh, sorry.
No,
It would be whatever my friends had,
the best era.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
and
way to do it.
So that tended to be ancients or Napoleonics or fantasy miniatures. At one point, and this is how I got into sort of the career path. We played this unusual medieval miniatures thing called chainmail, and they said we're going to try this. We're going to try this little thing at the end called the fantasy supplement too. And I went, oh, wizards, balrogs, orcs, oh my, and I said, I think this is going to be fun. Well, I was pretty good at miniatures, and not least because we played on a large floor that had some tiles, and I knew how to do the Pythagorean theorem, and so I could calculate distances fairly well, without rulers.
Math nerd.
Yeah, well, listen. Okay, so we're playing naval miniatures, and under these particular rules, what you did was you got down with your face to the floor and you lined up this piece of cardboard with two pins on it. right?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Fletcher Pratt rules. And that's how you aimed the gun. And then they took a tape measure after you specified the measurements. Okay, I've got 4 shots at 30.1 inches, or 30 and a quarter inches, and then 4 more shots at 30 and a half inches, and so on. And then you got ranging shots. You saw where you hit, and then maybe next time you could do it.
No wonder you got all the chicks.
Yeah.
I can see.
Well, after the first shot, I did some furious scribbling, and my next shots were placed 1/16 of an inch apart, and all of them went down the smokestacks of the enemy because I had done the Pythagorean theorem on the tiles, and I knew exactly how far away they were.
The trigonometry was a big deal in actual artillery.
Yeah.
So that was a way to go, using some real world knowledge to kick some nerds.
I know there's a math teacher, Devilette, that appreciates your knowledge of the Pythagorean theorem.
I want to run a theory by you, Alan. I want to see if I'm right.
Yeah.
But the winter in Wisconsin, before the internet, and with only 3 channels on TV, your options were either playing war games or ice fishing, yes?
Well, now, I'm not from Wisconsin. I didn't go up there until I'm from Alabama. I didn't go to Wisconsin until I worked for TSR.
Yeah, their options were way better then. No.
But I will say that when I got there in 1978, they had the most snow they had ever recorded up until that year. So my introduction as a boy from the South to Wisconsin was, oh my God, how do people live up here? So
in basements with war games.
Yes. So anyway, to get back to the chainmail, in the supplement back there was the thing about wizard stuff. So my opponent is flying a Nazgul at 31 inches high over my troops, causing a fear aura. And why 31 inches? Because lightning bolts and fireballs had a range of 30 inches.
Of course.
Okay. So he got
Nazgul also copyrighted.
And I have a word with the referee, and he says, yeah, okay. And so I have my wizard climb a tree, which is conveniently 2 inches tall. And the next time the Nazgul goes over, I blast him out of the sky because he's now within range. Woo! Math wins again.
Math. There you go.
You know what? The best part is that was probably a really, really exciting Saturday.
It was.
Well,
yeah.
I love games, but what gets me is that I picture, as I was telling my wife I was going away for 9 hours to go play in a sandbox, she would think I was crazy. But however, that was the best option, I think, because you had the time, you had the friends, and you didn't have anywhere else you could really go, it looked like.
Well, and this was high school for me at this point. So, and my parents were delighted. I had friends, it's not football, but at least they're together and they're inside. We know where they are, which was my answer to all parents about gaming in general. The best thing about RPGs is that all of your family and your friends are gathered around the table and they're not out wandering around, looking for trouble. So
yeah, you're spending some group family time together.
My mom could not believe you could sit still for 18 hours in the same room and be so happy. And so, no, I just think it's great. I play in the table of Gary's table at Gary Con for chainmail. Yeah, I realized why no one still plays it, but it was really a breakthrough.
Yes,
it really was.
Yeah, and miniatures were an entirely different thing. I started on the Avalon Hill games, the Blitzkrieg and Waterloo and Stalingrad, and actually was nationally ranked in Waterloo. That was fun.
Nice.
Those were played in person, and they would share it around with the societies, or how would they know that you were?
There were leagues, and Birmingham had a chapter. There were 2. IFW is the one that maybe got the most press, Midwest based, and Sparta International Competition League was California based, but also coast to coast. They had chapters forever, everywhere, and the games would have to be played face to face. But back in the old days, gamers actually drove to cons, and people planned their cons geographically on the calendar so that you could go to one con, and then the next con next weekend would be the next one in order on the states and the countries and stuff.
So like Irish Traveler Caravan, that's cool.
Yeah. You would go California to Wisconsin to Philadelphia to Massachusetts to Birmingham for your convention season of 5 weeks.
So that is the first LARPing. You're actually going to play these games, and it's an adventure in the going.
Well, except that, yes, the road trips were adventures on their own.
Oh, I bet.
One of my friends discovered why you don't leave orange juice in a styrofoam cooler at the top of the Grand Canyon while you spend 8 hours going down to the bottom. So
I'm in Arizona.
It smells very badly.
Well, it's enough to want to make you jump off the side.
So, do you stay with miniature wargaming now, or have you gotten away from it now?
I don't own armies, but I will happily play the games at cons when I see them. Got into one that an American Rev game that Alyssa Faden ran last year.
Oh, who?
In Texas. That was had the time of my life. Great.
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
I will try almost anything. Did a Star Wars miniatures game at Gamehole too. So.
I saw your eyes roll right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you should come up for Enfilade. How do you say it, Zach?
As an Enfilade, it's Alyssa's con that she used to be part of running and everything, and it is like the war gamers version of like what North Texas is, because you walk in and all you see is a million things that were made in 1968 and 1981.
Yeah,
And
there's
they're all
just
playing-
lead everywhere. I mean, you almost get lead poisoning just walking into the building, the hotel. It's pretty nice. I am not a miniatures war gamer, but it was cool to see. It was very impressive.
And this you'll appreciate. The best part is, best part is people go there to sell their stuff in a swap meet. Unfortunately, as guys get older, they're offering estate sales. War gamers don't know what they got when they got little brown books. Bill and I got a copy of Tricolor and Don't Go Up the Ship for cover price.
Ah, very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
so it's a great place to go. It's a lot of fun, nice hotel, and honestly, it's got fewer speeders per square inch.
It does, which is always a selling point. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. We're gonna start with Ghost Tower.
All right.
What was your first job at TSR when you got there?
I was hired as an editor, responding to a want ad in the back of their magazine. Okay.
Dragon or
It was one of the very early dragons. And I mean, the whole story is that I had answered it, did not think I was going to get it at all, totally put it all in my mind, and went on working on my master's degree in chemistry. So,
you're all right then.
but then I went to the Gen Con that year, walked past Gary Gygax, who was standing in line. He waved me over and said,
One.
"When can you start?"
Oh.
And so that's how I got. So anyway, the very first thing that I was handed when I got to TSR was a board game called Fourth Dimension.
No.
You know.
All right, let's see it, Zach.
It's a British game that, lovely.
I got a lot sold to me for $25, and then told me he ripped me off. And you told me you made it out, felt bad.
No, it's well, I will say it's a collector's item. As you pointed out, not a lot of people play it at conventions. And
Well, you pointed out to me that two-player games.
It's a two-player game. Conventions don't like two-player games.
Don't see a lot of chess there either.
I mean, you may be able to do an open gaming or something, but it's not going to be a organized event, But anyway, the great joke is that at the time I didn't know who Doctor Who was. In a couple of years from that point, around 1980 or so, I would know who it is. And all of a sudden realized, that the pieces they had been calling Time Lords, and the time warp were actually, Doctor Who references. We did license Doctor Who.
The IP in here was not exactly vetted.
No. Well, it was British. We figured, hey, it's weird British stuff. Yeah.
We kicked their ass out with King George for a reason. That's what you thought.
TSR was normally so good about vetting IP.
Well, I have another an IP centric thing. I have, as far as I know, the only award for Battle of Five Armies. They played one tournament at a WinterCon before they
The
got
box or the bag? Box or bag for the.
it was bagged, and no, but I've got a trophy. First place Battle of Five Armies, and
Oh, see,
I don't think anyone else would ever dare to print that on a trophy because the IP of the Tolkien people.
I had a nerdgasm right then because that's so awesome.
Zach wants to buy that from you.
Yes, I do. I have both versions of Battles of Five Armies, and I've never played it, but I really wanted to have it because it's just such an obvious theft. I mean, that's brazenly going into Tolkien estate, grabbing their jewelry and leaving, right? And
it had one of the funniest optional rules in the world at the end was the optional rule is to have the dwarves versus Smog, and rule one was Smog can only be injured by arrows. Rule two, the dwarves have no archers.
That's awesome. That is stellar game design right there.
no, that's an asshole move that I respect.
Yeah,
I respect
yeah.
that
That is an optional rule that won't get a lot of play.
So after stealing IP stuff from Fourth Dimension and then the Tolkien estate, where did you guys go next for your criminal spree through the world of intellectual property?
Your larcenous spree.
I will not get Jim Ward into trouble, because he
he did it. Okay,
he answers the deities and demigods thing about 3 or 4 times a year, and always seems a little more tired when he has to say it. But
yeah,
and he went through as far as he knew were entirely appropriate and legal channels to get those the Elric and Cthulhu material.
But there's money. All of a sudden, things are different when there's money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, and sometimes, especially back then, there was a matter of, well, let's go ahead and print it, and if they want us to stop, we'll stop. So.
See, this is the way, honestly, because you're daring them. You're basically daring them to sue you, and you got to the point where there wasn't a good dare anymore. They didn't care when you're 2 guys putting boxes together, but all of a sudden, when there's millions of dollars in distribution, like, hey, wait a minute, we own Hobbit.
Yeah, we need a taste of this.
And as as TSR grew, that exposure and liability potential grew as well.
Sunshine is the best disinfectant for theft, man.
one of the things that we did that I did was to read the slush pile of submissions that we would get from outside, and there were.
You in trouble? Like, did they send
there'd be 100, maybe 100 a week at some time, at some points, and 90% you just throw away immediately, and you have to return saying, I'm sorry, we can't look at this, but pretty sure Parker Brothers already has a game like this.
Monopoly's a thing, right?
Right? Yeah. You show them that.
That was chess, which everybody had, right? I can see that would be. You're looking for a gem and maybe one doesn't show up. That'd be not a lot of fun, I don't think.
Well, and every once in a while we get some that were horrifyingly memorable. Didn't violate IP, but we still weren't going to do it. My favorite that I remember was Caligula, the role-playing game.
Hey-o.
No,
right ahead.
Yeah,
nope.
That's going to be a hard nope.
No, except that I've seen the pictures of Alan with our wives. You never know, and I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
And for those of you who don't know what Zach is talking about, this is Alan with our wives. This is the image where women love real men.
And they found one.
Yep.
Well, as one of my favorite comic book characters, Flaming Carrot, says, "Fortune favors the bold."
Yes.
It does favor the bold. You know what else favors the bold is short lifespans. But I'm glad you got the fortune one.
Well, in this case, it was fortunate enough to or bold enough to ask these lovely ladies for a photo with them. So
they say yes to other people is awesome.
Yeah, like I can't
So
get a picture with my own wife.
if you had told me 10 years ago my wife's gonna dress up like a devil and hang out with Mike Ballotto, help push around old RPG products, I would have sure you were a liar and I was on drugs.
Yeah,
Instead,
fantastic.
this timeline turned out okay. I'm talking to Alan Hammack, he wrote Ghost Tower, and I can put up with the wife thing. So after, oh, sorry.
what what was the seed that got you to write Ghost Tower? I mean, what was kind of this? Was it just, hey, I got an idea, I want to pitch it to everybody, or was it an open
No,
call?
it
Or?
was more a lovely, lovely cover. Humorously described. There was a Facebook thing that did humorous titles for old classic modules, and that was called "Help the Toothpaste Monster is Out." Yes, nice autograph.
Okay.
Anyway, the seed was that one of the bosses said, "Oh crap, we need a tournament for WinterCon, and it's coming up real soon."
I know that story.
Yeah, Zach, does that sound familiar?
It sounds familiar right now.
And I said, well, I could probably adapt one of the dungeons from my home campaign in that period of time and
Yeah.
shorten it. And and then I furiously set to work wearing a couple of typewriter ribbons out. Yeah. Yes, back in the day, we used typewriters and carbon paper.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is this arcane
like
technology?
I watched all the President's Men. They had those things in that movie.
It's non-digital. It can't be hacked.
What?
Oh boy, it could be stolen though.
Yeah,
Well,
so we can walk off with it.
The
However,
first Ghost Tower was WinterCon's module. It was the actual 8 pages.
The green one, the original pack was a green cover, and it came in a Ziploc bag, and those are pretty rare. And then at GaryCon a couple of years ago, a gentleman walks up to me and says, "I have the #1 copy, green copy
Oh
of
boy.
Ghost Tower." And I said, "Well, congratulations." He said, "Because I was on the winning team."
Ooh.
That narrows it down quite a bit.
Well, and that's David Baxter, who's quite successful in Hollywood now. And
That is
so
crazy.
very, very, yeah, I know, wild stuff.
#1.
We said, okay, it's a tournament. Now, back in those days, I have to keep doing the old voice. I played in a lot of tournaments as well, and I was annoyed at a lot of them that I thought were too subjectively scored. Two tables might do identical things, and the DM, one of them it tickles him and he scores them more points than the other. I mean, some things were like that.
You like a scoring sheet like that.
And so I created as objective a scoring system as I could for it, based on time ticking down, number of characters that survive, and
time ticking down is right here,
and how far they proceed in the dungeon.
Yeah. Subjective and objective scoring. Very nice.
Yeah, there was a little, you have to have a little bit of subjectiveness, but I tried to minimize it.
Formula there. It's an actual math formula.
And so when the tournament was played, I have to remember there were between 50 and 100 teams playing. A lot of teams. Only one team finished on time with all 5 characters alive and got all the way through it. I've designed the perfect tournament. There's only one winner, clear. Now, it
was you. You sat down and going to play it. You got second, huh?
Yeah.
It wasn't even the team idea. No, because I'm rumored to be a ruthless DM.
Well, that doesn't seem right at all.
I look at this book and I remember as a kid thinking, how are you going to play this? There's Medusa around the corner, and then why is there a pterodactyl there?
Because that was, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
No, here's the thing is I liked about it when I first got it. I got it first module I had. I stared at it all the time, could not figure out the spell he was casting and everything else. The giant in the back, though, it screamed pain. It looked way more deadlier than the Tome of Horrors.
The funny thing about that that back painting is that, it gives a clue that no player picks up on until they get to that area and they realize what's happening to them. I mean, and it's not just that there's a fire giant, obviously, it's that something's happening there. So
yeah,
Something
that's
horrible
the
is
best
happening.
part.
yeah.
And look, this person is just pointing right at them.
Yeah, look,
I think
there's
it's
a
the
fire
monk.
Like, hey,
I made my spot roll.
It's the monk who's going to take on that giant. That's awesome. They believe in stuff. So can you tell a little bit about when these got made as a regular release module?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything to do with it after writing it? Did you have any say in like?
Yeah, I got to do the development and expansion of it, and then of course then it was submitted to proper editing procedures, and I went through the thing that all designers do once something goes to an editor. And being an editor, I laugh at both ends of the process, but it's hard when somebody else says, "You didn't really mean this, did you?" I went, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's change."
Yes, I did.
Yeah, right. No, in Sri Lanka, it's spelled that way. So
In my Sri Lanka,
it's
a
a very obscure dialect.
So when you did the art for these, was that already like somebody was already hired or an in-house artist was going to do it? And did you suggest it, or did they just give you art to put in it? They would read it.
I did not get to suggest who got to do what part of the art. That was in general at that time. Dave Sutherland was the art supervisor, and he would assign the pieces to artists, not necessarily on the basis of talent, but on the basis of who was free that moment.
Yeah, who was there?
I have no idea how much I understand that, and never thought I would. You guys had so many great artists to go from.
Oh gosh, I'm delighted. Look at the names that were there. We had a great room. With
it wasn't bad.
And Errol Otis and
I don't know about that guy.
And
yeah, you got some up and comers in there.
Yeah, you got people who they may have a future. We got the developer Alan Hammack, Frank, Evan. Okay, so editing was Harold Johnson, Frank Menster, Lawrence Schick. Never heard of any of those guys. But art, Jeff D, Greg Fleming, David Lavorse. Ooh, heard him.
He's old.
Mr. Rosloff, Mr. David C. Sutherland III, and Earl Otis, the guy who looks exactly opposite of his art.
Yeah.
So this was, as a kid, was great. It had puzzles, had everything I wanted in it, and I could never actually got to play in it once.
It's
See me at a convention, sir.
I do.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and ask to play.
Well, you see, here's the thing: is that at conventions, I'm busy like you.
Yeah.
But I actually would. That's something I'd be interested in. But it has all the things that attract us nerds. It has the light blue maps.
And that's what I tried to do was, when I was learning the game, it was monsters, tricks and traps. And I said, got to have all of those if you're going to have an adventure.
I have them fast. You know the planes. You went to all the different planes of the elemental planes, and there's all kinds of stuff happened in what 22 pages, 24 pages.
Yeah, it's super dense. There's a lot going on in this module, and it has stood up the test of time. This was in 78, right?
78. Tournament 78. This is on here says
this is 80.
1980.
It was the 79 tournament and published in 80, I think.
Yeah, I remember it says 80 because it also says Lake Geneva, Wisconsin was where this is all from. I was certain that was the coolest place in the world.
Yeah, it was like Oz.
And I couldn't find it on a map.
Yeah, nope.
No, I thought so. I thought so too. Now, when we first get the D&D, I had played from a friend who had seen Gary playing at some convention pre-publication. So we actually got a little bit of introduction to sort of the game before the brown box came out. As soon as the brown and white boxes came out, we were getting ours as rapidly as our one little hobby shop in Birmingham that carried, war games and stuff, could order them.
Right.
So remember, after you get the box set, then you're going, we want more. And then the Greyhawk supplement comes out. And then we want more. And then the Blackmore supplement comes out, 6 months or a year later.
Yeah.
You always feed the beast until you have to start over again. This is the way.
But and you know, so yeah, you know, I really, you know, I really get we had the built-in audience demand for that, but and there was a point to the story and it got lost somewhere. So
That's okay. We're hoping that point was
no,
filthy and-
now I remember. No, you're right. So you know, you're thinking it's the coolest place in the world, and now there was another reason Lake Geneva was famous, at least in my mind. I kept reading about it in that Playboy magazine.
We didn't really read that; it just showed up. Right?
Playboy Lake Geneva Resort, you know, and it was like, and of course the stories in the magazine.
Yes, Ellen was reading Playboy.
That's okay.
Reading.
Steve Winter was actually doing worse.
Reading.
and you know, they make it sound, you know, like an incredible place. And so not only the first time that we drive up to Lake Geneva for a Gen Con, as you're coming in from Highway 50, you actually pass the Playboy Resort, you know.
Right.
And we got there just about daybreak, and there were these mists rolling over the plains of their ski area. They've got a huge front yard, for lack of a better word. And it was like eerie mist, and I went, "We're in Blackmore, guys. This is great." Yeah.
And the best part of it is that I told Skier that I guaranteed the Playboy would come up. You know, I have to bring it up.
Well, I mean,
why wouldn't it?
One of the Gen Cons was there, you know, and it was Gen Con 10 was actually physically there. So yeah,
it's a strange concept in the world we live in today that was no problem before.
Right.
Well, the funniest story that I'll remember, and you know, all of the older guys will nod, is that if you've got a hotel full of mostly teenage and college age, mostly male gamers, and a hotel full of Playboy bunny waitresses,
orgies are bound to happen.
There were an awful lot of guys with purple bruises on their head, right?
I bet.
And it's because you turn your head and you walk into the door, you know, because
I was thinking they got their ass beat.
Yeah, I thought it was getting smacked.
No, it's from walking into doors, looking at the
yeah.
I can see Winter getting smacked, man. I can see that happening. Okay, so you did the Ghost Tower, and then you moved to some of the box games. Did you work on Boot Hill?
I did the second edition. Yes, and hold that up.
Well, you know,
that's actually me modeling the guy in blue there.
I think I actually have your copy because you left your wallet, man.
Ah.
I know that because inside your business card is there, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, no, and one of these too. I showed up. The gentleman's single-use monocle.
Oh,
using emergencies. No. Anyway, no. So Boot Hill, I just thought it was funny because Boot Hill's like last 4 hours and you're dead. That's a man's game.
Well, or 5 minutes and you're dead.
You get hit once, you're done.
Well, and which is why at conventions I'll either play what we call the greatest guns that never lived, and have people playing James Arness, and Matt Dillon, and Clint Eastwood, and figures who wounds will go down a type, so they can't be instantly killed.
Oh, I got shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah,
shot in the hand.
Well, one of my friends playing Boot Hill, I had sprinkled in a few of these characters in the game, and he was bank robber, was hiding up in an upstairs room at the Long Branch, and the door bursts open, and it's Marshall Dillon, except he doesn't know it yet, and so he gets off. He had it aimed, so he gets off 2 shots at it, bang, bang. 2 in the head, boom, boom, and Dylan goes, and still there, and he goes, oh crap, and he flings himself out the window, preferring to take the fall damage because he knows he's not going to beat him.
86 to 90 is a headshot. That's what it says right here. I pulled the right page.
Wow,
that was really unfortunate for him. Many things like that happen to people carrying guns around openly.
That's true. I still run Boot Hill at conventions. It's immensely popular, and one of the reasons is it's really easy to teach people to play. You can teach a kid to play. You can teach somebody off the street to play because you're only dealing with percentage dice. It's a really simple table, and everybody's seen a Western and they know how to act.
And in
if
2
you're doing
hours,
the fantasy thing, if you say I'm going to be a tiefling or something like that, well, you have to have read the books to know
that's not a tribe,
right? But you're going to be a Western sheriff. Okay, well, I know how to do that.
I'll be El Zorro.
Right, right.
I mean, you could do that.
Or you're going to be a bank robber. You know how to do that.
So I've got a question.
That's second edition. Brian Bloom wrote it, and Mike Carr and I did the editing on it. And
there's a mean guy. There's a mean person, Mike Carr. I love him.
Oh, as a boss, he's an absolute tyrant with a very polite Minnesota accent. Yes. So
I can see that. I played the ship with him. I could see it.
He's nice.
On Boot Hill, when you guys did it, did you as designers have any influence on the follow-up products or how they actually tried to sell the line? Because Boot Hill I found interesting because they made modules that looked like you're supposed to live long enough to get to one.
Well, the whole idea, okay, let's get into a little inside baseball, is that Boot Hill is a miniature skirmish game.
This I believe.
But when D&D started taking off, the writer of Boot Hill, Brian Bloom, said, this would sell more if it's a role-playing game.
Yeah, miniatures are advertised.
There you go. And
role-playing game, I'm back. You remember he's good, man.
and so thank you. I always start things like this with, if I recall correctly, because it was a long time ago and I might miss a date or a year or a name.
I'm impressed you guys just don't lie and keep going because you don't remember it. Because I can't remember it last week.
That's what we do. Zach and I do that all the time, and it's a much shorter period of time.
Where were you on Tuesday? I was bailing Matt Finch out of jail. So it's Tuesday, dude. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
So anyway, Brian thinks that he'll make more money if we can push Boot Hill as a role playing game, and as a result, the second edition project is born, and we try to shoehorn some role playing into it, but the table is still as deadly as ever, and so. The idea is that the only way to live as a character in that is basically to avoid gunfights.
Yellow bellied.
So,
what I find interesting about it, though, what I think is actually great about Boot Hill is because it's really relatable to those of us in the United States to pick it up, run it. You don't love your character that much, you just start all over again. It's a real simple one to do that. And like I thought Jolly Blackburn's game, the Aces and Eights. Better gun system, but by being better does not make it more like iconic to me. I really do enjoy playing Boot Hill just because it's different.
Well, my games always sell out at conventions, so obviously a lot of other people like it too.
They don't care about the game; they just want to hang out with you.
It's like you're hanging out with James Caan at the Playboy Club. You're hanging out with Alan Hammack at Gary Con.
So honestly, here's a little bit of a story time. At Total Con, the last convention we all three of us were at in the real before virus shutdown happened, I got to spend some time with Alan in the bar, and we were sitting at the corner of the bar just chatting, and he had a game he was supposed to run the next day, and he kept telling me, all right, I'm gonna finish this beer and then I gotta go write this adventure. And like 6 hours later we were still there just laughing and telling stories, and it was a fantastic time.
I think you guys outlasted Bill Webb that night.
This man is so approachable at shows, and that's one of the things that I get hung up with. All of you guys that were there at TSR in the beginning have all been super kind to us later on, game writers, developers, with questions and advice and just shooting the shit and telling stories, and thank you very much. It is much appreciated.
You're very welcome. I thank you kindly. I'm always humbled by things like that. it's really wonderful to hear that. We do have selfish motives. We want to, get you guys to do all the writing so that we can play now. So
Yeah. No,
I
God.
had the same motive as you, man, but we can pull it back and forth like tennis, man.
If
so
there,
That's
if
responsibility like a ball.
if we are ever at a convention and you want to just come up and sit down in a game, please, by all means, come up to my table and say, "All right, I'm playing."
My wife will sit with you.
Standing invitation. That would be amazing for me. So
I will take you up on that.
that
You
would
know,
be great.
as conventions have gotten more difficult to get scheduling in, even if you're
Right.
hovering at noon to click right then on your wish list, I have pulled the friendship card a couple of times to get into games to play.
Oh
So
yeah.
we'll do that.
Any time. That actually brings me to another question. Since you were there at the beginning in TSR and you've seen all these changes throughout the years, are you surprised, happy, dismayed, combination of all three at different times
Did you
of
see how big it would
how
be?
things have progressed
Uh,
in role playing games?
Thanks for such a specific question.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I there are new games that I've enjoyed and embraced. There are games or stages or editions of them that I go, not my cup of tea. Um, I haven't got time to play everything anymore.
Oh, right.
There's a thing back when I started, you realistically could play every game that came out in a year. I mean,
You really want to?
there weren't that many. The number of publishers was small. There was no print on demand anything. You had to.
There was the stapler and Rob Kuntz typing.
Oh, yeah. Well,
But yes, I've enjoyed obviously the new wave of popularity that 5e has, and my niece runs a 5e campaign.
that's great.
Our group plays 3.5, but we can play 5e as well, and we'll occasionally delve into other things. One of my other friends did an Octoon Cthulhu. Yeah, so,
Oh, nice. Very nice.
and in this, in this modern age, I am the age of the virus. I guess I'm happy to say that I've gotten to where I can actually run games on Roll20 now. So
Whoa, so
Look
now,
at you go.
that's a high bar. It's one
Yeah.
thing to I'm going to play on Zoom like Bill Webb, my boss, does actually tonight even. Another thing to go, I figured out Roll20. I'm coming after you. When you do Fantasy Grounds Unity, you let us know. We'll throw you a party.
all right, sounds
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I've got Crypt of the Science Wizard has a Fantasy Grounds package, and I still can't run it online.
I'll give your wallet back when you do that, man.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing, Skeeter, is my group right now is halfway through the crypt. They got shoved on it on a side quest. So,
What?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
Yes, sir. Your module there.
Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna act like a little schoolgirl right now.
They're having a lot of fun. Well,
Good.
no, they're not. They're whining and crying. So
Oh no, that's even better. I love that. Throw some salt in those wounds.
After Boot Hill, I know you did Top Secret eventually. Do you do anything in between, any kind of smaller projects, or you just go straight to the next big box?
I don't remember Top Secret. No, yes, yeah,
I know
yes,
you do.
I
I know you do.
no,
But you can't talk about it because you're a spy.
yeah, it's still classified. No, I worked on. I looked at the tally, and it's been over 100 things now. So yeah, there were small things as well. And when you after a while at TSR, Lawrence Schick was named the manager of designers, and after a while, he got tired of fighting the corporate BS for the design team, and he resigned and just became a designer. Basically swapped with me and let me, take the BS for a year or two.
Took his badass hairdo and left, man.
Yeah, and he didn't leave yet. Yeah, we kind of swapped positions. He worked under me, as manager for a while. And so the point is that a lot of us had input or played or contributed to things that our names are not going to be on there, or they're not going to be, certainly not on design or develop even.
I think you're on this one.
I'm in that one. We were on that forever. Yes, that was handed to me, and I was in a forever typing correspondence with Merle Rasmussen, the hard, mean, bitter writer from Iowa.
Yeah.
We
actually,
are familiar with Merle.
Well, the top secret box I got had his little sign from his work. You see him, he's dressed in a tuxedo all the time,
He does, or at least a T-shirt that looks like a tuxedo.
Oh, so this is one I actually owned back in the day as a kid. We actually played on the playground at lunch for 20 minutes because that's how long it took also to live.
I have never played Top Secret.
It's awesome. You can roll your background. You can be like I'm a specialist in something really obscure and not very tough sounding.
Yeah.
But you watch all your special op friends die.
We are playing right now. I'm in a campaign of Top Secret New World Order being run by my son. And so I'm just one of the agents in this. And I'm a guy like Jack Ballard, and there's another guy like the person of interest guy. And, there's 2 or 3 stone shooters, in this. The guy that's getting us
right there.
The guy that's getting us through this is the computer wizard, So
yeah.
The guy who can do the hacking and I can get cameras on that.
Is it true that you knew the model for the right below the passport?
I do know her, and I am sworn to secrecy.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
The thing was that when I found out that it was somebody that was linked and it was actually at a convention I was at once, I was like, oh my God, she's famous. Well, famous legs in the early 80s.
At least the legs are. Yeah, that was, she was again, remember the time, around 1980. It was a little scandalous for a girl in Lake Geneva, young woman in Lake Geneva to expose her legs like that.
And then the next year she gets a job schlepping drinks at the Playboy Club.
Well, or
whatever.
Gary's daughter Elise in the fur bikini, in the female bikini earlier.
I was just gonna say there were a couple of moments back then that were
I was at the auction the year they sold that. It went for $80, and I still regret not buying it because it's such a weird item. So,
the
modules on these. And so these sold better than the boot heel modules. But were there any you thought were memorable for the top secret stuff that was after the release of the box that was must have add on to the game?
From a historical perspective, the most interesting module is Lady in Distress, which was a cruise ship that was hijacked, and the team has to paraglide down to rescue them. The part that makes this an interesting story is that when Mike Carr was looking for schematics to base his ship on in the game, he went to a travel company and they put him in touch with a cruise line, and they sent him the layout for a ship of the appropriate size. The ship's name was the Achille Laurel.
Laurel, I was just going to guess.
And that was actually hijacked.
Yeah, it was.
That
was what I was going to guess. It's the only cruise ship in the 80s I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was interesting, in the same way. But
that is super cool though.
Okay, Zach, if you've got the original rule book, flip through to the back and look for the picture of Emma Peel, Diana Rigg there.
I will.
And every once in a while, being the editor had its privileges. And one was I got to suggest the art, and this was a piece by Darlene, and I gave her a photograph of Diana Rigg, my crush from the Avengers, as Emma Peel.
That one?
The hand holding the gun has a signet ring in it. it's got my initials in the signet ring.
Oh!
Diana Rigg has
All
my
right, that's a
initials.
bomb move, man. That's
That-
right there. That's an Alf move.
Somebody's a player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an Alf move right there. I'm going to do that next Frog Guy book. Nobody will care, but that is awesome.
That's great.
Well, and I've got to admit, Dave Sutherland inspired me because he was always hiding things in little drawings.
Oh
You
yeah.
look in the wizard's hats of the early stuff he drew, you'd occasionally see a biplane, for fighting the skies.
Oh.
And
I would have hated to be you guys' enemy because I bet you stuff showed up in places that we still don't know. I know some of them I know because of they're more public of a feuds kind of thing, but I bet there's ex-girlfriends, people who are angry at their, who knows? Teachers.
they might have become monsters. Who knows, right?
Yeah, they
Right.
never know.
Yeah.
And so
There are some Easter eggs, yes.
So you worked on Top Secret. You worked on Boot Hill.
Right.
What else did you work on that was like a larger release or a line?
Well, I actually became product planning manager for non-fantasy role-playing games, which was everything except D&D.
Oh, geez.
So
That
I
must have been gangbusters.
Gangbusters, Star Frontiers, those were the big RPGs. There were books in the time. I was one of the editing team for Deities and Demigods. Jim Ward did the great original work on that, but Harold Johnson and Lawrence Schick and I and Dave, Zeb Cook had to write a
Zeb
bunch
Cook?
of that stuff.
Oh boy.
That's the Zeb Cook right there. We all know.
Zeb's pride and joy. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do any of those? Were you fast?
I did not, but I was involved in the Escape from New York board game.
Well, that's different.
Oh.
At
At least in the what little development and play testing it was allowed. We were on a really short time schedule. That was another one of those things where we've got this great deal we're tying in with this exciting movie, and it was an exciting and fun movie.
Excuse me.
But and it's premiering in like 12 weeks. Come
Yeah,
up with a game.
Get on it.
Hey. Mark Rogers is awesome.
Oh, please, I don't want to talk about Buck and
I
Lorraine.
know, but I do because here and I got a copyright strike thanks to Buck. So we're a little annoyed.
I don't know if it was Buck Rogers or Battlestar Galactica. Our session earlier this week got a YouTube spanking because we did some
We
no
just
nos.
respect someone's IP, Mr. Battle 5 Armies.
Well,
Yeah, we can't.
all I did was play in it. I didn't write the game.
We can't get away with that now.
Those aren't my drugs, officer. Those are my wife's. That's exactly. I get it.
As I flash the D23 symbol, so Disney's going to come after me now.
Oh, it does. You ought to have a magic wand, trace the D. And,
Oh yeah, no,
Oh boy.
no, the mouse is a vicious beast.
That's Ben Garth.
The mouse parks are empty and extinct. They're on their way out.
Oh no, they're
Yes,
going to
Mr.
come
Mouse.
back with a vengeance, led by my wife, the Devilette.
I have a question now about
Yes,
you transitioned to the boxes and the other non-D&D games, but you wound up working on the Slave Lord modules. Were you just standing around the lunchroom with nothing to do and they captured you for that? Or how'd that work?
No, that was before that transition. I may have been manager of designers, or Lawrence may have been at that time. That era of blurs, but we were told to come up with a tournament for Gen Con, and all of us designers have been players as well. And what happened was when they run the 8-Indy Open, a huge tournament at Gen Con, the first round would go as expected. Second round, players would do a little better. Third round, the third session of people playing the first round, players were doing a little better. Players were talking from the early rounds,
Oh, I see.
I mean,
So they're
games
cheating
are
like on the
dangerous.
SATs. Okay.
They're gonna brag, right? So we said, all right, so what the solution to this is to come up with multiple first rounds, and except that we have to try to make them equivalent, identical, in challenge. How can we
Why
do
some
that?
are quite foul.
How can we do this? So we said, okay, well, if we write 4 or 5 different first round scenarios that are equivalent, then the people in round 1, slot 1, aren't going to be able to tell the people in slot 2 what's happening. They're going to get a different adventure.
It's like, dude, you're lying. You weren't in that game. That game had this in it.
and so even though it required a ton of work, all the designers got together in Mike Carr's apartment, and we hashed out what we were going to do, and talked to each other, and basically made sure we had the same amount of hit dice and hit points. This was before challenge rating existed, but it was the early version of what we were doing was balancing challenge rating for each first round scenario to get you through into the second round. Now, I had to write one of the first rounds, and in addition to that, the second half of A3 is the semi-final round, and which comes before the final, which is being written by Lawrence. And Lawrence said, so there's something you're going to have to do. And I said, what's that? He said, all of the players are going to have to taken prisoner and knocked out, no exceptions, at the end of your semifinal round.
Ooh.
How can I, try to write something that's going to anticipate what every single player does to escape? And so I cheated. I had a force wall with knockout gas. Was, you have to cheat for that.
Yeah.
And everybody is very mad, and all the players at the time, oh, we've lost. Obviously we didn't get through the end, whatever's happening there. And then later, we actually hung around and watched them look at when the results were posted on the board and went, we got in, but we were knocked out. How did that happen?
So you had to walk up to a wall and read something on paper.
Yes. It's like a great, like college, see
wow.
your final exam results.
No, I did that. I was in a tournament at GaryCon that they were running, and we had to look for it.
Yeah.
To figure it out.
Yeah.
So after TSR, where'd you go, man?
Well, I tried briefly to do some freelance with some of the startup companies that were being with everybody being fired during the TSR purges. There were a number of those. The first pace setter for one.
Yeah, Mayfair.
Now I did end up writing some things for Mayfair and consulting with them. I did some of the development on their DC Heroes game. And as I said, I think I'm the only person to work on both the Marvel Superheroes game and the DC Heroes game. So that was—
You are a superhero.
Your phase ripped to you.
Say that. And but I wrote 3 books for Mayfair on mythology and gaming. Fantastic Treasures 1, the aptly named Fantastic Treasures 2, and because it was the 3rd book in the series that had already been started, Monsters of Myth and Legend 3. So,
I think I have two of those. I think I own.
Yeah.
I like the Mayfair stuff a lot. I found it to be like attractive enough and different enough on a shelf that I always wanted to buy it, but I always had $2. Nothing.
And of course, that was the Roll AIDS type generic system.
Which is a great name, right around 1983.
One of the first ideas of trying
not
to
the best.
Yeah. Well,
we're gonna change our name now from AIDS to something different. Yeah.
I was going to write for them, but it wasn't going to produce enough to keep me in Wisconsin and unemployed. So I said,
I can be unemployed myself. I don't need you.
If I'm going to be unemployed, we're going back to Alabama where I can be unemployed and warm,
Unemployed, warm, and you can grift off family. That's all a good idea, dude. This is the way.
So my wife and I went to Alabama. She's from Wisconsin. I met her. That was the best thing that happened to me, was meeting my wife in Wisconsin.
Very diplomatic.
Check that off in the box in case you watch the show. You good job, man.
And we moved back, and I said, I've always wanted to run a game store. I mean, I spent all this time writing this stuff.
Right.
Why not have a store where all I do is sit around and
talk about it all
people
day
and have them give me money? I said,
you got to sit around part for sure.
That sounds easy. And And so we did. We created a game book and a comic store called Lion and Unicorn in Birmingham.
Nice choice.
Which the store sign was designed by Darlene. It was very pretty, and
She's quite talented. I've heard.
I see that unicorn in the background there.
yeah, that's actually a gift from my granddaughter. But
You actually killed that one on the plains, huh?
yes, I killed that one personally.
You know, they used to be like Kenosha, but the herd's gone now.
If you ever want to see a really amusing take on bad unicorns, look at Legends of Tomorrow TV show a couple years ago.
You had me a bad unicorn, man.
Now, when the rainbows came out, it did all sorts of hallucinogenic stuff and they were bad.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Mike
Anyway,
Gallo loves those. Actually, he has a shirt like that.
So anyway, the Lion and Unicorn, it turned out that a hobby game store, a bookstore that specialized in science fiction, mystery, and occasionally sold comics, was a viable concept, but sadly there was far more work involved than I thought there was going to be.
This 12 cents an hour is awesome.
And then I said, I know, we can go to some of the weekend conventions and have a booth there and sell stuff, and again stand there and wait for people to bring us money. And I said, that'll be easy. No, I wasn't foolish enough to think that. And those of you that have been to conventions, and both of you know that, being the booth people that you are, packing for a con, packing your truck for a con, getting stuff set up, and then
And having to get excited.
waiting till you can say, okay, I've paid for my gas now. Okay, I paid for my hotel room now. Okay.
Mike Ballard and I drive from Dallas when we go to Wisconsin.
And then it's Sunday 1:00, and I'm going, okay, profit can come anytime now.
Right.
I'll sell anything I've got for $20.
And
across the line.
cutting prices, right? Because you'd rather sell it than to pack it.
Yeah, because we're a publisher, we get to kind of forgive some of it for meeting fans and working promotion, but it's a slog because
it's grueling. For a couple of years, we did a convention almost every weekend for a period of 3 or 4 months, and it really is a slog.
So you took all the wealth you made as a game designer and
and
put that into a comic store in Birmingham.
Yes.
And then took that fantastic business model into the gaming conventions.
You went on the road.
Right.
That is a business plan I want written for everyone.
Well, you know what? I thought that having a store with a great inventory of miniatures. Now, at that point you're dealing with a lot of
you can have those miniatures.
Starfleet battle stuff was big.
Oh,
yeah. And I thought this will be great. People can see what they're buying. And well, it turns out people would come in and look and go, oh, this is really cool. I can order that directly and save 5%, and you bleepity bleeps,
The miniatures business is an ugly one in terms of you produce
but
all
you could sell all that stuff online.
Not then. But
I know.
yes.
I know.
I don't know how many miniature molds have been made and how many units get sold per mold. And I bet it's in the hundreds or less. They make so many. So
Yeah. Well, TSR famously got into miniatures for a brief minute when they got tired of paying Grenadier, a great company, that had the official license. They said
they give them money.
They got Duke Seafried, formerly of Heritage Miniatures, into work for the TSR Miniatures. And it turns out that making miniatures is a very expensive process.
It is until you get to the point where you have everything, and then you can make a bunch of them for almost free.
Right.
Frog God Games was briefly in the miniatures business, and it was a disaster.
What we do now is
it's a lot of front load. It's a lot of front loading, again, to use the industry term there. So,
yeah. Well, when you have a crooked subcontractor, I'll say it. I'll go ahead and say it.
Al Priest.
It goes very wrong.
Well, that's true too. And you know, I'm not going to name names. Our friend Eric Tenkar will, you know, but famously,
Talk about scoundrel. Huh.
famously, there's a couple of Kickstarter projects that have the
Ken Whitman.
yes,
I'll do it. I got no fear. I've been busted by YouTube.
Have
I'm
that
just
fear, that'll protect you from your taint on your reputation for hanging with us, man.
yeah.
no, I love you guys and always happy to hang with you. And it's so much fun. Speaking
So,
of,
how'd you get from the game store? You went. I know you had a real day job like a normal person.
oh yes, I sold computers for a while. For a brief time, I worked in a carbon coke and alloy company that involved going out and sticking my arms in burning hot bags of coal, like
Pablo told you to.
food.
That doesn't sound like a job. That sounds like a punishment that would be inflicted on me.
Because you lost the coke, they made you deal with it with the coal.
This is coke carbon that's used in.
This was the 80s, dude. You can't fool us.
In blast furnaces.
I saw Miami Vice.
And when you put coke into blast furnaces, you don't want very much moisture in it, or the superheated steam causes what we call an explosion.
Yeah.
So you got a Colombian bullet in the back of your head. One of the two.
So there's actually a company that dries the coke to a certain percentage, and even though once an hour I get to take a core sample of it and do it scientifically, most of the time you plunge your arms into it and you feel, the moisture content.
Peter Green, I could see you having that be the method you would do it.
That totally sounds like something I would end up doing.
Yes.
You said I was an alpha male, and this is proving it.
Hell yeah, it does, because
Kidding.
No fingerprints left, because of it.
My dad was on offshore oil rigs, and they would bring pipes in, and he had his hand up once, and 2 pipes slammed, caught a finger. And I was always impressed as a kid that he's the only guy I knew that was really injured. And he always would show people telling his mom bit it off. But
nobody had just one job at this place, and I was also the backup safety officer. And
like Homer Simpson.
There were people that killed from taking naps in the bins where this a quarter ton of ore was supposed to be dumped on top of you, or at one point pickup truck has its bed raised and starts backing up into a power line, and I'm running out. Stop! He says, "Okay, I'll get out." I said, "No, you don't get out. Don't move. Don't touch the door."
I just want to make sure everyone has it very clear that the safety officer was the guy sticking his arms in the burning hot material.
That's right. And
yes, that's true.
There's a reason why Homer Simpson was nuclear safety inspector.
And this was putting my chemistry degree to good use, because once an hour I would take the core sample
and sort it,
dry it out, weigh it wet, weigh it dry, and go, that's the amount of moisture in there. I was right.
This is awesome.
Holy cow, that is fantastic.
No, it is. Did everybody there think you're super famous for running Ghost Tower?
No, nobody. Oh no, in Birmingham, you don't get any credit locally. It's the age-old story. I helped run a science fiction convention here in Birmingham, or a con, general purpose con. We had a local Birmingham writer named Robert McCammon, who was known for horror. I mean, very, very good horror. Nationally, he won a lot of the Edgars and stuff. We took him to the Birmingham con because he was like the big star that we could get without having to have a hotel room and to fly him in or something. And he was ignored by the media. I mean, they go, "Oh, he's from Birmingham. Never mind," And
savage.
I know your home group does not appreciate you. Sometimes they say, "Alan, why won't you run this Saturday?" I'm going, because I need to write the stuff for the people that are paying me to write instead of actually writing.
You freeloaders.
After that job, I sold computers for a while.
What kind? PCs or Macs?
both. There was a store that actually sold both in the day. You know?
What?
That's
Yeah,
heresy, man.
I know, I know.
You know, I
Pick
can't
a
go myself, but
side.
When I started, we were selling Apple IIc's
I had one.
and the Mac Plus had just come out. We were there when the great 1984 commercial came out.
Oh, awesome.
So you had a $2,900 computer that could run one piece of software and like kind of like flicker out because it didn't have enough RAM.
Yeah.
But it was genius. But man, Apple II was awesome.
And for the last 26 years, I've been in various positions with my Jefferson County in the Environmental Services Department for a long time as a chemist
You're
slash.
the man.
And
You
now I'm
inspection the
systems
sites?
analyst. Now I'm a systems analyst.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're the man. You could stop stuff from happening just by seeing things, and you would see less if you were, if you were encouraged. No, that's cool. So then at some point you did this again. You
Yeah.
kinda
Well, my friends, Mike Carr had said, "Hey, you really ought to come up to this thing called GaryCon, a little get together that
we're
that
getting the
we have."
band back together.
Okay, yeah, and I said, "Well, yeah, that sounds cool. When is it?" He said, "Oh, we just had it like 2 weeks ago." I said, "Well, thanks.
Thanks for thinking of me.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that."
You missed that one a little bit.
And I saw all of our friends.
Yeah.
And I'll try to come next time, maybe. And
They all said hi and we're wondering where you were.
at this point, it was a matter of, okay, I got to save up the vacation time. I've got to save up for the flight. I've got to save up for a hotel room. Oh God, that's an expensive hotel room.
Look at the responsibility he's showing right here. Save up.
So I said, okay, I can do it once. And I went up there, had a wonderful time. Started talking with Merle Rasmussen again, and we went over and we're talking to this fellow called
Merle.
Chad Parrish, who had was showing me about his top secret stuff, and Chad was talking to his friend Jason Elliott, who had this wild idea of rebooting TSR and rebooting Top Secret as a new product and new mechanics and everything. And then went to the dealer's room. People were very nice, and one of the gentlemen there had a booth, and he said, "Have you ever thought of writing anything more?" And I said, "Oh no, I couldn't afford to write."
I'm retired, man.
I said, no, and he said, no. Well, I mean, we publish it for you if you wrote it. I mean, maybe you've got an old tournament, or something that you could just update. And I said, no, I can't afford to pay you to publish it. I can't do that. And he said, no, we'll pay you. And I went, you have my attention.
Now it's all clicking.
Bring in for one last job.
So props to Devin Hibbs, and his brother for getting me talking about writing for modern day. And I took a 25-year-old tournament that I had written and updated it a bit, and they went out and got some excellent artists to participate in it. Diesel and Jeff Easley, and yes. And that's a tournament, a module that in today's climate, I don't think I can run that particular adventure, anymore.
Oh boy.
We just pretend like we don't know those things. That's why, I keep a lot of my stuff that I own for other companies, and my own stuff that I wrote is getting a little bit of rewrite now. And it only was but 10 years ago.
Yeah. And it was a jump start for me to get back into writing again. And that convention was a jump start to going to other conventions, because there was another, I said, yeah, it sounds like a good thing. Oh, wait, okay, yeah.
What's the name of that con? Huh?
That's Gamehole Con, yes.
This is not in San Fernando Valley, is it? No. No, but Alex he needed vendors too. So he came up to my booth and was like,
3-year project for Top Secret New World Order. And and the Hibs for the Knight of the Black Swords module. It's a real collector's item, very hard to find now. So
I've never seen one for sale. I bought it when they happened.
Consider yourself lucky. Then they,
my wife now.
other conventions met me, and started asking me to come. So yeah.
With the North Texas, I've seen you there. I've seen you.
Well, Bill Meinhardt, is who came
Scoundrel.
came to. I want to say it was Gamehole Con where he talked to me, showed me his folder of what stuff he had collected of mine. I went, oh wow,
the 3-ring binder.
I don't remember that.
and said you would enjoy coming to this convention in Dallas called North Texas RPG Con. And I said, well, sounds good. If you if the organizers want me, they can ask me. Here's my number. That's fine. And I went there with some trepidation the first time, but it was great. It obviously, it's a feeling of being home from the very first moment. People are incredibly friendly.
There's a guy dressed like a devil. He's there.
Well, now even before that, our lovely serving girls, Anna and Jessica, were kind enough to pose with me for a picture that became one of the parts of the event.
Boy.
Oh goodness.
Pacesetter Games.
Yes.
Mike Modelato. Seaton.
So now that you're an international playboy again and well known for being in an industry that is hard to break into, you've done it twice.
Yes.
And so you're beloved by women, apparently, from all the pictures we see. What can we learn from you going forward, Alan Hammack, to make our lives more meaningful?
Yes, Alan Hammack, alpha male, give us your wisdom.
Please, before you go out about and attract all your harem, please tell us a little bit of wisdom, please. Please.
Listen to them.
Excuse me?
Oh, hey.
What?
Now you're a fraud, dude.
Okay. No, I was an Eagle Scout.
Sure you were.
It modeled me. Yeah. Be kind, courteous, trustworthy, loyal. All of those things are good. And, if you think about it, in a gaming company, you want all of those things as well. I mean, you want people to be smart and creative.
Isn't that Frog God? Oh my God. We have Ben Barsh. He's the one that counts. He's the one that's closest.
Everybody at Frog Gods has been wonderful to me. I enjoy hanging with them. I'm going to enjoy working with them too. So
we're looking forward to it. I know that you're a busy man. I mean, when you're making something called New World Order, we'll take the extras you can cast off when you get it. No, hey, I do want to say though, honestly, it's great to see that the gaming from when you started with the war games to now still has momentum. Like the mall train guys that you see that, I use that as my example, they loved it so much, but no generation latched onto it. So it wasn't like passing on to more people to learn it and watch them get excited. We had that in gaming. It's because you guys wrote the stuff in the beginning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's interesting. My favorite kind of board games nowadays are train games. I go to a convention in Chattanooga that's all train games convention, Puffing Billy convention.
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride, the Mayfair Empire Builder type series of games.
Or on the Orient Express.
Metro is a tile game, but still counts as a train game. On the Underground recently got rebooted.
Is Dragon Train by Tom Wong? Does that count as a train game?
Well, Iron Dragon does.
That's right. It's one I got that one.
Yeah, it does, and that's a lot of fun too. The interesting thing about these cons is to win, you can't be good at just one game or one type of game. You've got to score in several different categories of games to get to
I'm bad at lots of stuff. I could be good at
that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So we are well over our normal hour, but it has been absolutely worth it. This has been great. Just like at TotalCon, the time has gotten away. Really enjoyed it.
No, I really appreciate this because I want to ask a million other questions I didn't, but I will get to see you again, and I'll be able to give Merle back his stuff. So.
Oh boy.
And you're right. I didn't get to all the super interesting stuff. So.
Well, the good news is Rob Kuntz will be on next and tell us about you.
That will never happen.
Oh, I won't tell you, dude. It'll just happen.
he'll say who?
Yeah, no.
We won't.
As long as I am part of this show, that will never happen.
Now I have a goal. Everybody needs goals. All right. Thanks a lot, Alan. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It's a
Zach.
pleasure.
Thank you, Skeeter. Good night, Jens. Good to see you
Thank
again.
you for Ghost Tower. And I don't mind that you get pictures of my wife for that because the Ghost Tower is awesome.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Enjoy the show, and I'll be listening next time.
All right. We'll get you a
Thank you
shirt.
very much.
Put it
Yes,
cleaned up.
absolutely.
Guppy. All right. Thanks, guys.
All
Bye,
right.
Zach.
For
Skeeter.
Zach, I'm Skeeter. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel.